Hello. If you're new here, my name's Olivia, and I'm a knitting channel / yarn channel. Those things kind of go hand in hand. But yeah, today's gonna be fun because I'm gonna show off my whole stash, which honestly my stash is really old compared to probably a lot of people's stashes. I've got thrifted yarns. I've got upcycled yarns because I just worked on a sweater today, and I'm just going to start with my whips and finished objects first because I've been up to a lot of knitting lately. And the first one I'll show you, this is my Santorini kerchief, which is a free pattern, and I made it with just regular old cotton. Here's the leftovers. Just, nothing special, cheap cotton. But it works well, and I just wanted something kind of summery to wear on my head. Yeah. Two other finished objects I wanted to share are the hiker's waistcoat right here. Completely finished. Let's see if I can zoom out. Completely finished. There it is. I feel like I did a pretty good job. There's some twisted stitches and parts where I think I would have gone off pattern for the binding off before doing the collar area, but overall I think it was a really good learning experience, and ironically one of my favorite parts of this was doing the seaming because I really like mattress stitch. It feels really I don't know how to sew. It makes me feel like I can sew. One thing that was kind of funny about making this was the yarn that I used, fisherman's wool. And by the way, the pattern is by the Fiber Company. The yarn I used, fisherman's wool by Lion Brand. When I bought the new skein, which in my previous video I mentioned how I'm using like a really old skein, and I also bought a new skein that are like probably more than 15 years apart. And the new skein I got actually smells very sheepy, which I don't mind at all. I actually kind of liked it. But when I was blocking it, my whole office smelled like wet sheep. So that was an experience. And still kind of smells sheepy, but honestly, like, I don't mind. Doesn't work very well with what I'm wearing right now, but whatever. This is what it looks like. Yeah, you can see better pictures on my Instagram because I like to post pictures of my finished objects, of course. And I posted this one recently in all its glory, laid out in the grass. The other finished object I wanted to share is this baby blanket that I was working on. It's finished now. It's a good size. It's not huge by any means, but yeah, it'll totally work, and it's totally a blanket, and I just love this color. It's so pretty and yummy, and I actually have a lot of this yarn left over, so I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with it. I could make another one of these for myself, but then I don't know exactly what I would do with that, so I try to be realistic. On to the whips. I don't have very many whips anymore because I finished the blanket and I finished the vest in like record time. I'm still waiting on yarn for the test knitting that I'm about to do for Jamie Creates. That's taken a little while. I ordered Dropped Snow and I'm going to be making 2 vests. So that's going to take up all my knitting time when those arrive, but I'm still waiting. Right now I'm working on my Widdershins shawl by I forgot the name. Sachiko B on Ravelry. And so this is where I'm at right now. I think it's a little further than when I last showed it on video, but I had to tear it back down to about here-ish, basically almost at the beginning, because I realized that I wasn't doing wrong side anything, so I wasn't purling when I should have been, and so all this lace looked all gartery, and Like, it's fine if you like how that looks, but I wanted it to look flatter with the stock in it, and because I wasn't purling, this spine part of the shawl was also incorrect, so I just decided it's important enough that I'm just gonna kind of start over. And so far I'm really happy with the results, and I've actually really enjoyed working on it since I've like seriously had to get good at doing this lace pattern. And it's really not that bad. It's mostly just yarn overs, knit two together, SSK, like not in any order, but just the stitches and then make ones. So it's really quite simple. It's just paying attention to the chart is important. And I'm using, I think I mentioned in my last video, I'm using, not drops, I'm using, I think it's Knit Picks Swish DK. It's so squishy and soft. I love it so far. So very excited about that project. And of course I'm still working on the pair of mittens, but I think I've already showed that, and I'm at about the same progress because I'm not really in the mood to work on mittens, so that one's kind of hibernating in my project bag right now. So yeah, those are my whips and my FOs, not too much to report at the moment. But I really want to get into my yarn and kind of show off what I've collected over the years. Like I said, I've been knitting for about 17 years on and off, so some of this yarn is really old. So I'm going to start first with my cottons. There's not much to say about these cottons and cotton blends. I think almost all of these I bought recently. I've just got like different colors of these like regular sized cakes, just like pink, white, brown, black, purple. I bought some in Halloween colors, like I also have yellow and I have orange hiding somewhere because I wanted to make like Halloween themed coasters. So this is my little coaster. I designed it myself, just a little, I don't know, just a little jack-o'-lantern face, because I didn't want it to be too big, so there's only so much you can do on like a little thing like that, but it works really well as a coaster. I needed something for my desk and I figured why not just make it. There's this one really interesting yarn that I have that's in my cotton box called Reynolds Tucson, and it's a okay, so I just looked it up. Reynolds Tucson, which is a discontinued yarn. I got it at a thrift store up in Portland, Oregon called Knit and Kitten, which I used to love going to, but it's no longer open, which is really sad. But this is 65% cotton and it says 35% acrylic. Yeah, I don't know, it's just got this really interesting texture to it. Maybe you can see. And it's just this really light, summery, springy yellow. I don't know. I'm having trouble deciding what I want to do with it, but I'm not feeling too impatient about it. I don't feel like my stash is terribly big at the moment, but maybe that remains to be seen. Onto my acrylics, which I personally am trying to not do acrylics so much, just because I prefer to work with natural fibers like cottons and wool and things like that. But I do know that acrylic is like the cheapest option, and sometimes it's really the best for certain things like stuffies and household items and, you know, different things. So I've got some acrylic. This one I'm actually not 100% sure. This might actually be wool. I'm going to put this in the wool. Sometimes it feels silly, but sometimes I can't 100% tell the difference. Like maybe some of these might be blends. Like I know this is like I think this is Lion Brand something cheap. I don't know. And I've got this really pretty turquoise one that I've used quite a bit for different amigurumi projects and practicing stitches and things like that. I really like using acrylic for practicing. What else? I don't even know what this is, just like a little scrap. It's like opening a present. Pretty sure, yeah, these are just random acrylic colors. None of this has labels. I don't know what they are. It's fine. Except I know that this is... I feel like I knew what this was. It's really soft. It's probably the softest acrylic that I have. It's like, okay, I remember. It's Big Twist. Yeah, I don't know what colorway. Can't make me. And lastly, I've got some Red Heart Super Saver. I'm pretty sure, like, I was gonna make like a little Yoda for a coworker, but I kind of lost my love for crochet, so I don't crochet anymore, and I had been planning to crochet that for her, and I never did, so I just have all this yarn now. I might end up donating those two, I'm not sure, because I don't really use acrylic much at all these days. Especially since I've been really into making garments, and I don't want to make acrylic garments. Yeah, so this is the one I wasn't sure of. I think this actually feels like wool, so I'm going to stick it in my wool bag, which I will get to now. That's not my wool bag. Ugh. Okay, my wool bag has a lot more in it, thankfully. I've got a bunch of patterns. Which I bought these to make myself some socks, which I might still do, or might make myself a different, like, wintry item. Not 100% sure on that, but I will use it. And I've got a bunch of Lamb's Pride Superwash. I really like this yarn. And how did I get this? I think this was... No, I don't remember how I got it. I didn't buy it new. No, I bought it used, so it came with like a lot of smaller balls. But they're the same, and I've used that to make a really nice hat for my fiance, which turned out really well. He still uses it like 6-7 years later, which is pretty nice. I've got some, I think this is also patterns. This is just like a really nice kind of grayish brown. My camera is giving me like a really warm tone right now, so you can't really see the grayish in there. But it's quite nice, quite nice. This is my leftover, get over here. This is my leftover sock yarn. Oh my gosh, what is it called? I wish I had the labels for all these, but I just don't keep the labels. I put everything on. This is Cascade Heritage Sock, I think. Very nice yarn. And it was not terribly expensive. Like, I still have almost a whole skein, it feels like, and I've made a pair of socks for myself, like ankle socks. So, I mean, I might use it like as a color in colorwork socks down the line, because I've been getting really into like stone knits patterns, seeing a lot of those that I'm interested in making, especially the shrimp socks. This is a really interesting yarn, and I really want to find a use for it. I don't remember the name for it, but I remember I believe this line of yarn is called Crazy, and I think every hank is different. So, and I can't tell you where I got this. I didn't get it new. A lot of these are like given to me some time down the line, and I don't remember when. I don't remember where they came from a lot of the time, but you know, whatever. I have them and I can use them. This is just like a random tan wool, probably, that I have. And what will I use it for? We don't know. We don't know. I have a bunch of these that I also got at It and Kitten. Just this nice kind of soft orange. I just have a bunch of these little balls of it, so don't know what that will be used for. These are really cute, and I wish I had more, but I just have these little tiny things of it. Probably got it at that thrift store, honestly. This is leftover from actually the first hat I ever made, and I haven't found a use for this leftover yarn. This is, I think it's like Lion Brand wool or something. And I remember the colorway is oatmeal. I quite like this yarn because it feels very rustic. And I remember the hat turned out really nicely. I wish I knew what this yarn was. If someone can tell me what this yarn is, please let me know in the description, or not in the, let me know in the comments what this is if you know, because this is like the most magnificent mossy yarn I've ever seen. I actually used it as a lily pad for a little frog I made for my mom that I knitted from a Mochi Mochi Land pattern. It came out really well. These I will be using for my shawl, so I might actually stick these in my project bag. Maybe. No, I'll leave them with my wool because I don't want to overload my project bag. This is leftover from a cowl I made. I'll probably just have to link all these in the description because I cannot tell you offhand what they are, but it's just this really beautiful, like, can I focus, lavender color yarn, kind of, again, it's got some gray in it, but I used it for a cowl, but I used it for a cowl, and it's just the squishiest thing that I have for the winter. It's amazing. And this is one of my favorite yarns ever. Just this color is fantastic. I think this is Plymouth yarn. Yeah, I used that for my favorite hat, which has cables in it, and the cables came out so well. Highly, highly recommend. That's pretty much it for my wools, aside from like extra balls of yarn that I've already showed you. So yeah, when I say I don't have very much yarn, I don't have very many full skeins of yarn. I have a lot of just old scraps I've been thinking about what to do with, and I don't know what to do with yet. But I'll have to come up with some scrappy projects sometime so I can like find a meaningful way to use the old scraps I have, so it can kind of, you know, purge the old. And there are a lot of new yarns I'd like to try, like from Drops and Malabrigo. I really want to try some Malabrigo yarn. And I really would like to start exploring mohair a little bit. So I've also got some yarns that I'm going to stick in my acrylic. These are called Pretty Whites by Hayfield. I got these at a thrift store like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. These are by Hayfield, but I've not been able to find anything about this yarn company. And yeah, I would assume that this is discontinued yarn, but I just had to grab it because I really loved how, maybe see, just how like delicate the dye work is with this. And I thought it looked really nice for just an acrylic, and it feels really, really soft. Like it feels like it could have wool in it, but it, let's see, it's 50% nylon, 50%, it's 50% nylon, 50% acrylic, so that would explain why it feels soft. And then I also picked up this Finnish yarn at a thrift store. I live nowhere close to Finland, so I was very interested to find this yarn there. It's called Nalle, I guess, by Rondo, I think. And again, I could not find anything about this yarn company. but I was able to see that this is actually 75% wool, 25% nylon. And yeah, let's see, what weight is this? I don't know exactly what weight this is. It's pretty small. I'm guessing fingering sock weight. Yeah. So somewhere in that ballpark. Maybe I will use this to make like something with lace work, or maybe a pair of socks or something like that. Maybe in conjunction with that other sock yarn I have. Alright, so I have a lot of this left over that I'd like to find out what I'm going to do with. Today I tried to start one of my test knits a little early just to see if this yarn would work for it, and it is so holey. So I think this yarn is going to require smaller needles. I was using, I won't say what size, I was using quite large needles. But yeah, so I still have to tear that out, but I've just been kind of tired of doing that today. Got another whole unopened thing of it, so got quite a bit of yardage there. Oh, leftover fisherman's wool. I could make some stuff with this, but what? The world may never know. And this is what's left of the old ball. Oh, and I almost forgot, this is probably my favorite acrylic. I've been using it so slowly, just like for really small projects, because the color is just so pretty. It's showing up more purple than it actually is. It's more like a periwinkle, so it's got a little more blue in it. But I used it to make like a stuffed whale a long time ago. I've used it to make like just little things here and there. Oh, and here's my orange cotton. Alright, getting close to the end here. There are two more things I wanted to show you. This is what has become of the giant chenille cone that I own. I don't remember if I showed it off last time, but I had this entire cone, like, I don't even remember how many yards I calculated of this yarn, but yeah, this is what it looks like. It's very thin, like flat kind of, maybe you can see that. But it's just it's got this really beautiful velvet sheen to it, and I'm struggling to figure out what to make with it because I don't want to deal too much with worming, so I'm probably gonna have to use a pretty small needle size. But like, what would I make with a really small needle size and heaps of this yarn? I'm telling you, I'm gonna count how many balls I have of this. Be right back. Okay, I have 18 cakes of this, and each one of these is about 50 grams. So do the math on that. That's how much of this chenille yarn that I have. And I really, really, really want to use it. I mean, ideally I'd use it on like garments because I really love wearing things that look like velvet. I mean, I love wearing actual velvet, but this just like reminds me of velvet, and so I would like to make a garment out of it, but I think what I'm gonna have to do is just like test different needle sizes, make some swatches, and see how the yarn behaves, and decide from there what I'm going to make from it. And if all else fails, like maybe I'll just make a couple pillows because I might still have some polyfill stuffing from when I used to do crochet. I could make some pillows. This is what it all looks like. That's full of yarn. Alright, and now we are towards the end. So the very last thing I would like to show is my progress with upcycling some sweaters. So this one, I just started doing the upcycling, the unraveling, and I'm almost done with one sleeve. You can see it's totally flat now, pretty much, because I've started cutting the seams, and I'm almost done unraveling this one sleeve. It's got this really pretty teal color that I like with little speckles, so I'm really excited about that. Got this kind of gold cabled sweater, which is much too big for me. It's also inside out, but I don't care. Yeah, that's what some of the cables look like. But this is just like an Old Navy sweater, and I just really liked the color and thought it would be fun to unravel it and see what else I can make with it. And I won't pull them all out, but this is what I have of the pink sweater that I had. This is my first time upcycling sweaters, so you'll notice that the yarn is like totally untwisted, and when it just, you can see all the little individual threads, so you might be able to get an idea of how frustrating this sweater was. So yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out, like, do I need to find someone that has a spinning wheel or something like that to, like, to ply it back up? Because I don't really want to work with yarn that is totally, like, 100% split city. So I might just, like, give it a try and see how it feels, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll update you guys when I've solved that problem in my life. This is where'd the sleeve go? This is what has become of the rest of this sleeve. So you can see kind of what the knitting looked like on this sweater and what the yarn looks like. Also, split city, look at that. I'll figure it out. This is all new to me. I feel so sorry for my fiance who had to watch me just absolutely make a disaster out of the living room with all the fuzzies on me. So I hope you liked looking all up in my yarn stash. I know it wasn't a ton of yarn, but everyone has different standards, every knitter is different, so yeah, just vibing. And I also love to see other people's stashes for some reason. It just, I don't know, sometimes it gives me a little bit of inspiration to see like what other fibers people are working with. Again, I'm starting to kind of feel like I want to get on the mohair train, like holding it with other fibers and kind of seeing what result that gives me and if I enjoy the feel of the fabric. So yeah, I've got lots of other video ideas for podcasts and things like that, so I will definitely be back for another video, and catch me next time. Bye.